Rookie here. It's the Pat and JT podcast.
Pat and JT podcast.
You know what sucks about 2020? Just got to dive right in on this one.
We just got here.
Well, what's right? But something already sucks about it is that when you're like organizing files on a computer, right?
Yes.
And the file is labeled the date. I've always labeled, like, for example, my birthday would have been 12/14 of 19 of last year, right? 12/14/19.
Right.
So now 01 02 20 puts everything at the very beginning of the stack instead of at the very end. Just chronologically speaking.
You gotta let it go.
What?
I can't. It's driving me crazy.
I'm literally telling you to leave it in the past.
Wait, we need to introduce that other voice.
Oh, Dana.
Dana.
Dana, that's right.
Yeah.
I literally said that right before you walked in.
Yeah. And I've said it 15 times, Dana.
Rosanna, Dana.
I know.
Dana.
And I think I remember the first time we had you on a long time ago, I had the same problem. Because you see, D-A-N-A is Dana.
Yeah.
Not Dana.
I know.
But it is Dana.
It's my mom's fault.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll blame
Spell
mother.
it wrong.
There you go. And tell what you do. Just
I'm an intuitive numerologist, so I read energy.
So why do my stupid file numbers mess with me? If you're a numerologist, talk to the numbers.
It's 100% about you, not your numbers.
I was going to say operator error. I don't know.
So dumb.
It's your need for control.
It's my need to be able to find crap. I have a hard enough time anyway.
You just don't like inconvenience.
Mislabeling is a problem.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah. Just just a couple of letters.
And it was not mislabeled.
Inverted.
I just need to figure. I don't know how I'd change it around, but it was labeled perfectly fine. It's just the 01 is now up on top versus the 12. It comes before the 01.
I always, when I do my files, just dumb stuff, but I always put in the file with the month first. So I start everything with the month, 01, 02, 12, whatever. The month is first. So then all the months are together. So each month is together, and then the dates.
Oh, that's a good idea.
After that.
Maybe I could do the year first. I could do the year first.
And you could do that too. You can start everything with 2020.
Then I think I'm in
because you want to go from the largest to the smallest. You're trying to narrow it down. So
exactly.
The big view put in the 2020. Like I have a file just for 2019 and just for 2020, and then you could go from there.
So
that's
funny
what I do.
that you're talking about this.
Isn't that exciting?
This year is a lot about staying out of resistance.
Really?
Uh-huh.
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
So the overall energy of the year is a 4, and 4s like to be in control. 4s like structure, they like organization, they like stability, they like predictability.
And when you say a 4, it's the sum of the numbers, right?
It is. It's 2020. If you put a plus sign between every number, it's the total.
Okay, so like your birthday is all 3.
All
month,
of the numbers.
Day, year. Okay, all right. So the year is a 4.
The year is a 4.
Okay.
So we just came out of a 3, which was all about expression and taking off masks and being real.
That was.
Right? It was like a push for authenticity. Like people were just like, I can't live like this anymore, and just letting it out.
Well, you even think about, let alone social media, where everybody's expressing their views, but taking off masks. When you think about what's gone on from the Kevin Spaceys to the Epsteins to the Harvey Weinsteins and revealing revelation.
All those masks are gone.
Yep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the year before that was a master year of 11, was a 2, but it reduced to a 2, but you don't reduce masters, which are doubles, like 11, 22, 33. So that year was a 22, and that was a high spiritual year where people were really, it was a mirror of ourselves with each other. Like there was a lot of polarization.
Yep.
Okay, so
we're still healing from that.
The Me Too movement, like all that stuff happened. It was like people weren't taking it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the number thing. So if I wanted to find out what my number was, I'd take 12 December plus 14 plus 73.
Put a 1 between all of them. So your 12 would be 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 4 plus 1 plus 9 plus.
Oh, okay.
Right, so you're gonna do that unless you're born on or in the November, or unless you're on the 11th of the 22nd.
Okay.
Like those, you never reduce those. You add those as they stand, but
and then you take your number that you are, and that's where you can kind of tell what kind of, according to what you're saying, is like if this year's a 4, how what year, month, day, whatever is best for you, or what it's going to be like for you. How does that?
So we all have lives. Our lives run in cycles, just like the numbers 1 through 9.
Okay.
We run in cycles of 1 through 9 as well. Every now and then there'll be a master thrown in there. But so in order for you to calculate your personal year, so the 2020 is the world year. So this is what we're going to see all around us, all around the planet. But your personal is adding your birthday and your birth month to the current year.
Okay.
Oh,
so like for you,
12, 14, 2020.
14, so 5, 8, 8 plus 4 is 12, is you're in a year of 3. So this is a big year of expression for you, but also with the overtones of the year for the world, which is security.
Oh, okay.
So a big
So isn't it like I need some, or I'm going to have plenty of it?
So these are just the vibrations that you're going to be working with this year. So
good. That's a good thing. Security's a good thing.
It is. And
that's cool.
That's the theme of the whole world. So we're going to see, depending on where people's hearts are, right? Because the free will in this is that how we are going to choose to view and experience and our perception of
Right.
Because this
right?
doesn't, because it's that way doesn't mean it happens that way, because there's still free will involved, obviously.
Everybody's going to experience it, whether they're coming from a place of love or fear,
If
right?
you kind of know that that's working in your favor,
right.
then it's going to be probably a little bit easier to move in that
And
direction.
here's the thing. It's always in your favor.
Okay.
It's
Really?
the way you
I like
choose to
that.
see it.
True.
It's 100% the way. Even in like this year, I expect lots of things to be just to crumble and to be demolished because they don't work anymore.
Like meaning what kind of stuff?
Well, think about like our financial world. Look at our society. Look at our politics. Look at the things that are happening right now. Anything that's old that doesn't work anymore. There's going to be a polarity this year. Any number that's evenly divided in two is going to have some polarity to it.
Okay.
So we're going to have people who are like, this doesn't work anymore. They're going to be the people who are like, let's do what's best for everybody. This needs to be revamped, rebuilt.
That's probably true, because I think along with the revelations that have happened the last couple of years, some things have come to light that have been living in the dark.
Yeah. And that's,
definitely.
definitely.
And it's like, oh, wow. Well, that's not right.
That doesn't work.
Right? You can't do that. And so that's where you're having some struggles, because that's been the status quo that has made things work.
Absolutely.
But you didn't realize what was going on in the in the dark.
Right.
So that's kind of what you're meaning by things that old is people are realizing that it's broken. It's not going to work anymore. It's going to explode. It's going to be done.
It's expired. Like it doesn't apply anymore. Like our world has changed so much. Like just take our education system, right? 100 years it hasn't really changed. We have not rechanged it. But look what's happened. These kids have been born starting in 2000. Like look at how they have forced the system to build around their needs. And that's what needs to happen. We need to be able to let things go. But again, that's something
the
that
status quo is hard to change.
4 is a strong number for it's when it's in fear, it does not like change unless it initiates it. So people who are set in their ways are going to be the ones who are struggling against the change that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just fear.
Yes, and you see that, especially you see it, and I'm not gonna. It's not politics. It's just in general, but you see it in the words that people use because they are just digging in, and it's like I'm gonna double down. Right. That's it, and you're like you don't want them to. It's like you want to give them an out. So because sometimes they dig in so hard, it's hard to go back and say, okay, never mind. I'll change. It's like my mom was very much against using technology. She had a 35 millimeter camera until close to 2010. And she would not. I gave her a digital camera in the early 2000s and it sat on a shelf, right? Nope. She loved her 35 millimeter. She's a great photographer, but she just didn't want to do it. All of a sudden, it was like it was time, but she didn't tell anybody she did it. And she switched over, but she didn't tell Dad. She didn't tell me because she didn't want to hear, I told you. And I would never have done that, but now that she did that, I want to.
Right. And that's they want to be in control of when they do it. Like they want to have the control.
Right.
So it's a false sense of security, thinking that you have control of anything outside of yourself.
Right.
It's absolutely, and that's where we're going to see the resistance this year.
And that's what causes so much anxiety and so many problems is trying to change everything, external things. You can't change that. You have to only, like you said, it's how you deal with it. It's how you perceive things. It's how you handle situations inside. Yeah. You can't force other people to change or other situations to change.
You can give them, I guess you can try and give them a way to get there. Saving face is a big thing with a lot of people. Yeah. And sometimes you have to give them that place where they can land softly and make some changes. I gave you my mom's birth date.
Okay. So I'm looking at your mom's birth date. She has an inner perfectionist.
Okay.
And she doesn't like to do things that aren't going to be done really well. And so she might avoid that because she also just doesn't like to not have fun. Like if she's not having fun, she doesn't want to do it. Yep. And so if it's something that she's in resistance to, that she perceives as work, I'm just not interested in it because it doesn't sound fun. I relate because I'm the same life path.
Right. This was my struggle with her. My mom and dad both got a smartphone just this last year. Mom's been putting it off, did not want to have to sit down and learn.
Yep.
And now she loves it.
Yeah.
Again.
Right.
I'm like, I told you.
Yeah.
But it's really funny because that's exactly how she is.
And so her personal cycle that she's in the same number as the year.
Really?
Yes. So she's in a 4 this year. So last year was about fun for her and taking off her mask and really letting herself play. So 3 is a lot about connecting with your inner child. Okay. Really getting back to what brings you joy.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of people were just throwing off, this doesn't bring me joy. I quit my job. I did this. I don't want to do that anymore.
Spark joy. Isn't that funny that show came out last year?
Yeah. That's ironic, right? Or is it?
Everything is synchronous. We think it's
coincidence,
epiphanies or coincidence, but it's all
okay. So with a year like that, then following up with a year like this year, is it where people go, oh crap, I did what I did last year, the throwing off of everything, the quitting your job, the this and that, it's that was the wrong thing to do.
If they're in fear, they will. Yeah, in fear they will. And with the way things are, we look at society, the way it's going to be impacted, look at where the market's at right now. It's ridiculous right now. So is that going to crash? Because this is all about security, right?
It is. Yeah.
So I'm looking at that and I'm going, well, that's a possibility because it's out of control and it needs to be reined in. And this year is about stability and foundation. And
I heard one of the analysts, they were batting that around about, because they're looking at how the market had moved so dramatically this last year. And the predictions that they all kind of agreed on is that it's still going to be a great year this year. Yep. It's not going to be as erratic.
It's very
That's
stable,
what they're predicting, that it's up here. It may continue to move up some, not like this year, but it's stable in the foreseeable future as far as policy, as far as things that they can. It's right now I feel really good about this, and I think it's not going to be as woohoo, here we go, crash, up one day and down.
So
the
about
next.
security
So it does.
it.
It really did. Now that I think about what they were talking about, that makes you feel good.
Okay. Right.
So, and then when people are going into this year, is it something that people should start looking to build something a more secure scenario, or is that going to be something that's presented to them if they're open to it?
They're going to feel that energy no matter what. They're going to feel like, we should probably look into saving money, or we should be looking into, creating more like a safety net, or, how are we thinking about our future kind of thing. People are going to be more conservative this year. They're really going to be locking. Now, I say that, but then, the people on the other side of that. So there's always going to be that polarity, right? So you're going to have the people who are screaming fear, and then you're going to have the people who are already no, I got this. I'm setting my foundation. I'm going to plan for that instability instead of being in the instability.
Yeah.
It's so much a personal thing. We say it's about anytime we project outside of ourselves, that's where we don't have any control.
Yeah.
So anybody who's freaking out on the outside just shows me how their inner world is. If that's how they're on the outside, their inner world is.
So if you see somebody in the mall that's a hot mess, their insides are all just like gravy.
So, and our response to that needs to shift. So, doing things differently. So, instead of meeting somebody where they're at with that anger and that frustration, that's when we really should stand back and go, wow, this person's in a lot of pain. I'm going to meet that with some compassion and some love. And that's another theme that's going through this year, because when you look at the individual numbers that create the 2022 is all about harmony, peace, love,
awesome,
compassion.
Yes.
We need a little bit of that.
And the zeros that follow each of those twos are amplifiers of the divine, right? So they're bringing in that love. They're amplifying that peace. They're amplifying it if we allow it.
Okay, let's go back to 1920s.
Okay.
So the Roaring 20s. Was that does this, because obviously it was 1920, not 2020.
Yeah, so that would make it different.
So it's completely different. Because a lot of people are throwing around the Roaring 20s theme and all, that kind of a sense, because we're rolling back around. Here we come again. And it's a completely different time, but it was a really good time in the 1920s.
Right, but if you don't look at it as the whole number, right? It's still going to be, everything's going to be 1 through 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 9, right? So 1920 would have been a 3.
No.
1921.
That's what we just got done with.
1921 would have been a 4, right? So when you look at that, it's really, we are always recycling, right? We're always recycling, and just, it's a matter of how it adds up, what it reduces to.
Interesting. When you watch the news, do you like pick up numbers? Do you I mean, is
it's gotta drive you nuts.
I mean, seriously, when you're watching the news and you're seeing things come together, or you're like, wait a minute, what are those? And write down the numbers and oh my gosh, that makes total sense.
When I see somebody who's having a great impact, I always calculate. I always go look up and see if I can calculate who they are, what impact they're going to have on people and how they're being perceived and how they're behaving. Like, are they coming from a place of fear too?
Yeah.
Like, that's really important for us to know, like, what creates fear, right? Because then we can check ourselves and make sure we're not making decisions from there. So the need to control outside of yourself, the need for approval from outside of yourself, and the need to pass judgment, including against yourself. So if you're making any decisions and they're coming from any of those three things, then you are absolutely coming from fear. And that's when you get the power back, because then you get to choose.
Yeah. Then you're aware.
Yep. And then you say, you know what, this isn't how I want to roll. So I'm going to go back to self-compassion, self-understanding, because everything is about you loving yourself. Ultimately,
that's hard for a lot of people, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, those three things that you just mentioned a second ago. What are the three? If you're making decisions from
the need to control outside of you, the need for approval from outside of you, and the need to pass judgment, including against yourself.
And was fear one of those?
Those are all fear.
Those are all fear-based.
Those are 100% fear.
So you want to impress other people. You're worried too much about how you're perceived,
right?
And you also judge yourself.
Yep. So that's
and
the
how
inner
you
critic,
believe.
right? Your inner critic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't, and those things happen without even thinking.
Well, they happen they're 100% in your head.
Subconscious.
I mean,
constantly.
Fear comes from your head. Like the knowing comes from your gut. So if you're listening to your gut, then you know that the difference between anxiety, like your stomach's eating itself, versus butterflies, like excitement, like that's your inner compass.
You kind of have that feeling sometimes when you meet somebody. It's like, I'm not sure I want to hang out here.
Yeah, well, especially you, because your path is that 7, and the 7 is high intuitive, high awareness. So
I kind of trust myself more.
You're very
just roll with it.
Yeah. And as you've gotten older, it's gotten stronger, right? Because you've learned,
and I'm not as afraid to follow it.
Right.
I mean, I've made some decisions where I'm like, I can't deal that anymore. That's done.
And your balance point is fear and doubt.
Okay.
So when you're in fear, you're in doubt. And when you're in faith, you're in your loving space, right? So when we find out what those are, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because then we take then we have our power back. Like, it's always within us. It's never outside of us. Anytime you think you can control something outside of you, I'm going to start laughing.
Well,
you just can't.
Seriously. I mean, and I go back to the big news stories. And in particular, the one that's weighing on my mind right now is just because of the developments that keep coming out is the whole Harvey Weinstein and the Jeffrey Epstein, Weinstein. What? Where?
Weinstein, Epstein.
They're the same, right?
We know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Whatever. But they were all about controlling everything.
Right.
And it fell apart fantastically.
Right.
I mean, just
and they knew
imploded.
And they knew how to pick people to do that. Like, that's part of their gifts. Like, they just know who to. They know.
Master manipulators.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And they finally, somebody tripped them up that they probably didn't even see coming. They didn't. I'm thinking like the 14-year-old girl that went forward that tripped up Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, and think about that. And people saying, you know what, I don't even care what happens now because I just want people to know this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's
interesting. All right. So, as far as, let me see, where do we want to start?
First of all, what's because you gave her little life, not path, but she's.
Here, you're going to write down his
write
stuff
down. Write
I'll
down
write
both
down numbers
of them.
for you.
Okay.
Write down both of them.
I can do that.
So your attitude energy, which is usually what people get first from you, right? Because when you meet somebody, you're usually picking up on their attitude. So, like yours is an 8, right? So 8's all about. 8 is balance. 8 is 100% about balance and having balance in your life, in all areas of your life. It's power, position, money, title, status. It's collecting.
73. 1973.
I'm trying to give you a year.
I wish I was 45 only.
I was trying to give him a year. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
So 70. So that'd be 20. So 28. So you're a 1 life path, which means you're here to be number 1. This is very much, everyone's journey is about themselves, but a 1 is really about 100% about them.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being number one, so you have really strong business numbers. You needed to be your own boss. You absolutely have to.
I love it.
1's 5, like there's clusters of numbers that kind of like when you have those clusters, that's just like a really big push that you need to do that. So 1's, 5's, and 8's have to be their own boss. You can't be micromanaged. You have to have freedom to create. You're a pioneer. You come up with things that you need.
He has ideas all the time. He doesn't follow through.
No, well, and
He's got 1,000
here's the
patents
thing.
in his
It's
head.
because the 8 attitude is the executive. They're the CEO. So they're kind of the delegators, not the doers necessarily. So he needs lackeys, right?
Right? Oh my God.
He's like, hey, I came up with this great idea. Here it is. Go run with it.
Go do
guys.
this.
I'm going to supervise.
Right. Yeah. Like execution is not my strongest thing.
No, you're an inspirer. You are the idea, the big picture person. That's really your gift, is the big picture person.
Hates the details.
I hate them.
But I do
Yeah.
too. I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
I just get,
Right? When we painted here, it was just like a struggle over who's going to do the one that's cutting in the ceiling and the corners and around the bottom. It's like, rip this part. I just want to get the roller and just roll and paint everything, you know?
Right.
But there are small details you have to take care of.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a struggle.
I still have some that aren't finished at my place.
Well, it's so true. Okay, yeah. For you, you know exactly more than anybody how the numbers affect your life. And it's still, you have to convince yourself, okay.
Well, it's about understanding who you are and not beating yourself up over it. Like, I came here to experience certain things, and that's okay, whether they're, through fear or love. We always have the ups and downs, right? That's how we grow.
Yep.
So for me, like, I just know who I am, and I know what my strengths are, and I know what I don't prefer, and I just delegate out the things I don't prefer.
Which is a great idea. I did learn that
and
a few years
it's so
ago,
simple.
too.
It's just such a simple concept, but it's so hard to actually do it.
Yeah, it was everything from, even like mowing the yard.
Right.
I'm not a fan.
I'm not doing it.
Right?
I'm not going to
And
do
I'm like,
it.
I got to find a way to budget this in. I got to, because I'm going to have somebody else do it. But there are some things that you have to do, even if you don't like them, because you can't budget it in, or maybe you can't find somebody else to do it for you. But at least you understand.
Right. And
This
so
isn't my favorite.
You can choose not to be in resistance to it.
Exactly.
You can be like, look, so us being in resistance to the details, us being in resistance to cutting the grass, it's not serving us. It's making us miserable. And all we're all focused on here on earth is just, how can I have more joy in my freaking life, right?
There you go.
Right.
So it's like, well, then I have to sacrifice certain things, or I have to find a way to manifest something else into my life so that I don't have to do this. Like,
Exactly.
yeah. So it's really just about us using our own gifts to tweak things in our favor. Like, what do I enjoy?
And it's such a simple thing. It really is. What do I enjoy doing? Unfortunately,
That's hard. A lot of people, they never find that thing. It's because you hear the saying, do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Right?
And you know what keeps them from doing it? Fear. 100%.
But you get to that point in your life, whether it's in your 20s, 30s, whatever, you have a family, sometimes you just can't. Like, you can't
Risk
do what
assessment?
you love because you have responsibilities.
But you've also bought into programs. Like, you're feeding into the mass programming.
Well, okay, but if you're in a situation, like if somebody's out there that's listening and they're in a situation where they have a couple kids and they have to work a job that they hate it just because of the money, they need a job. Like, they probably feel like they don't have many options. Like, they're too tired at the end of the day to pursue anything else. They have so much going on. It's like, I just got to muddle through this and just do it because I have to.
Right. So
it's
here's the thing. We always have a choice. Doesn't mean we're going to like any of the options. So, I mean, that's just accepting the fact that, I want to get over there, but I have these things I have to get through to get there. And how am I going to do that? Like, how am I going to get over and around or under?
Just got to figure it out.
Right? Yeah. And it's like, but if you want it bad enough, then you will do what you have to do to get there. And that's that's the difference between people, right? Like, you don't have to stay in that job. It's just that you're choosing to because it'd be more work to look for something else.
Social construct too.
Yep.
Is when you got out of high school, either got a job or you went to college. And for a lot of people, it was you go to college. That's just, you're supposed to, right?
That's a massive program that's running.
Huge,
Right.
huge.
Massive.
And then, or you get out of college and you take that first job, and you all of a sudden that job becomes the career.
Right.
And it wasn't planned.
Nope.
It's just that was the job you took, and that's what you became good at.
Right.
Even though it's not what you love.
Oh, even if, like, some people just love school.
That's true too.
So they go to school and they get all these degrees, and then when they have to step into actually the job itself, it's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
They don't like it. It's nothing about what they learned. Like, you go to school and you learn all this anatomy and everything, and then you're cleaning a bedpan.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not what you thought you were going to be doing. Like, you thought you were going to be helping people, and you are, but that's not, that it isn't.
It's not glamorous.
Well, not even that. Just, you think about it and you go, well, I was being trained. I have all this training. I know every bone, muscle, tendon, thing about your blood. I know all this stuff, and I'm
Nobody told me this part.
It's not what I'm doing, right?
We kind of went through the same thing. We've talked about this before. Going to school or learning how to do what we do, or people who go to school to learn how to do what we did.
Right.
The difference between the classroom and the reality of what it is are so far apart.
So drastic.
And usually the equipment that they're learning on is amazing.
Right.
It's state of the art.
Right.
And there isn't a radio station in the country that can afford it.
Right.
And so then you show up and you're like, well, this is awful. I have to work on this.
I have no headset. What? I have to bring my own headset to work. What?
What am I doing? And the difference, you're right, the difference between the classroom and reality are kind of light years apart. And it is kind of an eye-opening experience for some people. Disillusionment.
Right.
No doubt.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay.
Well, this is being in a world year to 4, people are going to feel that push. Like, am I happy? Is this what I want? Does this make me feel good? Does this feel safe? Do I feel secure in this? There's going to be so next year.
I was just going to ask you about next year.
So 2021.
So everything that people get fed up with this year that doesn't happen, there big changes coming in a year of 5. 5 is the wild card. It's right in the middle of the 9-year cycle. Yeah. It is literally like someone takes the snow globe and shakes it up and nothing's glued down.
Oh my God.
So and I get excited about that because that's what, that's opportunity. So some people will look at that from their perspective and see change and work and fear. And I'm going to see opportunity. Right.
And that's awesome that you said that too. Same way goes like financially, the stock markets. You always hear the people talking about if the stock market goes down and people are scared.
Right.
You see the other ones that are stepping in and scooping it up.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm seeing some opportunity
right
here. Let's get going. And you think, well, how do you get that mindset? You didn't see it until you were right in the middle of it. And then it's too late by the time you realize that was a huge opportunity. I just missed it because I was sitting over here shaking in the corner.
Death.
Yes.
And what runs through our head all the time is such a determiner of that. Like, seeing it as an opportunity instead of work and change, right? Seeing it as, there's some mantras, some things that you say to yourself all the time that if you catch yourself, like when people are worried about money, I go, oh, I don't worry about money. And they go, what? Everyone worries about money. I go, I don't worry about money. I said, the minute a negative thought comes into my mind about lack, I immediately just throw into no, the money's always there when I need it. And I literally stop thinking about it from that. I throw out what I want and I leave it. I'm creating that.
It's self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely.
That there's a reason why that saying is a saying, because you honestly manifest what you keep thinking about. And it's crazy. Yeah.
And when you're worried about things working out for you, they're always working out for you. And if you continue to say, everything is always working out for me. Everything works out for me. Everything works out for me. Something might happen and it's not how I thought it was going to look, because what's that control?
Yeah.
So that's not the way I wanted it to look. But if you wait, you'll see that that's going to turn into something even better. Mm-hmm. If you keep your mindset, if you keep your attitude in check and you keep that positivity and that, I don't even like that word positivity. I like optimism. Like if you're just optimistic about your life, you're going to bring in so much more.
Right. It's just the law of attraction.
Yeah.
It's so
100% law of attraction.
The secret is true.
Yeah, it is.
But being able to maintain that optimism, even when things don't look like they're going well for you, to know that, you know what, even though this doesn't look good right now, I lost my job. You know what that is? That's an opportunity to do something you like.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's what that is. It's this door closed because it's not for you anymore. Mm-hmm. Stop beating on the door if it's closed and look for the ones that are opening.
Right. That's a super hard transition to make. It's a super hard transition to make that, and also of letting go of the idea of how you thought something was going to be, whether it's in a relationship or a family, business, whatever it is, to actually, because maybe it's something you thought about for a very long time or worked towards, and it just never happened. And then so now you're sitting like, okay, this isn't what I had been thinking about for the last 10 years. Now what do I do? You got to pivot.
Well, there's a lot of debate on, over expectations and setting goals and things, right?
Managing
Some people are like, no, you need to be really specific. Yeah. I do not subscribe to specific. I subscribe to general. So like when my office, where I had my office before, was closing, I was like, I don't want to move again. I got super resistance to myself, and I was like, and nothing worked out for me because I had decided it was a pain and I didn't want to do it. And so, of course, the universe said, okay, you don't want to do it. That's fine. Yeah. We're not going to help you do it. Then you don't want to do it. And then when I finally got out of my own way and I just said, oh, whatever, just whatever, I surrender. Like, just figure it out, universe. I'll be here waiting for, And then the next day, 3 buildings that were, then I had to choose between which one I wanted. And then I was like, really? You can't just make this really easy for me and just put the one in front of me?
One?
Right.
Honestly, that's pretty much what happened to us. Like over and over again, everything you've been talking about, but even the space that we're in now, with the space we were in, all of a sudden became, we couldn't afford it. All of a sudden, they changed the rules and moved the goalposts on us, and it was like, we got to move. We don't have any choice. We got to do it fast.
Yeah.
And the minute we were just like, okay, this will be awesome. Now we can find, because what we had was a good space, but we needed something different.
Right.
And so now's our chance to find something.
Right.
Because what we had at the time was exactly what we needed when we got it.
Right.
Because we had nothing.
Yeah. Right.
And so we got that space, and then we literally had outgrown it. So then this space popped up. It was just crazy. It was a friend of ours that found it.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, there's a great space. And it was like, oh, okay, let's go look. And we looked at all the other ones that everybody else is saying, here's the conventional list of spaces you should be looking at. And none of those would have worked.
Awful.
This was the only one that did.
Is it that those opportunities are there before, if you're still living in fear in that little area and you're not seeing outside of yourself, are those opportunities there? You're just not seeing them?
So let's go law of attraction real quick.
I love
right?
that. Yes.
Law of attraction. You ask for something, the universe gives it to you. You just have to meet the vibration that it's at. Everyone's a millionaire. Everyone's won the lottery. I'm just going to say right now. But you haven't matched that vibration. You don't believe in it. You don't have faith in it. You aren't matching it. So think of it as a building. Your story's in a building, right? Well, you ask for something, and universe says that's on floor 22. You're on 12. You just have to match that vibration. You just have to go up to that vibration, right? That's the same thing with what happened with both of us with our buildings. And I choose to let the universe show up for me, and I don't try to control how it's going to show up for me. So I said, look, I want the perfect landlord, the perfect place, the perfect partners, and the perfect price. Make it so. And I took my freaking hands off of it, and I stopped trying to say, oh, it's going to have this color, it's going to have this many doors, it's going to have, I stopped trying to control what that was going to look like. And it showed up.
Isn't that crazy?
That is incredible.
And it showed up within like a day or two of when I let go of the wheel.
Yeah.
And then within 2 weeks, I was in my space, and it was turnkey.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It is. It's. I tell you, for a lot of people, sometimes it's just a matter of sitting down and listening and not talking, and just thinking about the opportunities. Like as you're talking about these things, it's like, wow, I need to stop doing that. I need to stop doing this.
You got to be gentle with yourself, though, right? So that's the key. The key is that you're not beating yourself up and lowering your vibration at the same time, right? The more you beat yourself up and go, oh, I always do that. I'm so stupid. Oh, well, hello. That's not good.
That's a hard one.
That self-talk is so powerful. Words are alchemy.
How many times do people honestly compliment themselves?
Right.
Just, and not in jest.
Yeah.
Because I did that good. Ha ha ha. It's like, no, I mean, seriously think to yourself, I'm doing okay.
And how much, especially I can't remember if you have 8s in your chart, but I know that Pat and I have those 8s in our chart, and 8s are so forward moving. Like we do something and we're already thinking about, okay, how I'm going to improve that next time and next time and next time and the next thing and the next thing. And we never sit with and appreciate what we've, Like like just sit with your accomplishment for just a few minutes and go,
soak it in.
Wow.
Andy Meyer, Psychic Andy, I don't know if you know who Psychic Andy is, was on our show for a long time and told me something that has stuck with me. He said it to me multiple times on different occasions that my personality, I don't know if he's pulling from the same place you're pulling, but it's kind of the same information, at least what I perceived, is that my personality, I'm all about the chase and the preparation. And once I either see or attain what I've been working for, it's like, I don't even want it. And I thought he said that one time to me and I'm like, you're crazy idiot.
Oh, 100%.
And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like I find something new. I play with a new toy and I'm like hanging out and it's already almost done with the puzzle or whatever. I'm like, done. And I move on to something else. And you never sit back and go, man, that puzzle is pretty cool. Look what I put together. It's hard for me to do that.
So imagine if you sat in gratitude and appreciation of what you've accomplished, how that might fill your cup and draw more of that to you. But,
true.
But just like I'm the same as you. So like I did all this stuff and I'm like not even looking at the dust behind me, not even looking at the dust.
Yeah.
And then every now and then somebody will come into my sphere and go, wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And they're like, you don't see like all this stuff you did? And I'm like, well, I could do better.
Yeah.
Right.
Always looking
like,
forward.
That's great, but I'm doing this now. This over here is it. Yes.
But imagine like, so here's a big eye opener. What are you winning or racing to?
Right. Nothing really. I mean,
it's about the experiences. If we're not enjoying the scenery as we go on this journey, like when we leave our body, we're done. So what are we racing to?
So is it
you don't win when you die, right? It's like, what are you trying to get to?
Because for some people it is building something and it's the goal and they don't enjoy the road getting there.
The process, yeah.
Other people, it's the journey and they don't really care about
the destination,
the end.
Right.
So, and neither one's necessarily wrong, but just to be aware.
Oh yeah, but
of what you're missing out on.
It's definitely the ride. Like it's definitely enjoy the people around you. Make time for them. Like people can work really hard and build these empires, and at the end of the day, when they're on their deathbed, they don't have anybody to enjoy that stuff with because they didn't stop to enjoy it. Right. So like if you're going to build this stuff, you're going to gain this wealth, take trips, enjoy it. Like
interesting.
You see
create
people,
balance
whether
in your
it's
life.
in the news or celebrities, local, whatever, that get so worked up over things, whatever it is, they get so angry or they get so pissed at their family or their whatever, and then you just realize, you think, man, at the end of the day or at the end of your life, whatever that is, you've wasted so much time on causing problems, on stress, on like controlling things that are outside of you,
or trying to,
that you've wasted so much time, because I can't believe that I have a junior in high school. Like, man, that time is gone.
Yeah, right.
And the fact that if you took that time, you look back and half of it was spent fighting, it wasn't, thank God. But if it was, what a waste.
I challenge everyone to ask themselves this question. Is what I'm doing bringing me closer to or further away from my joy? If it's not bringing you joy, you've got to find your inspiration and follow it. I mean, the universe is going to show up for you. Whatever it is that you love and have passion for, that's literally why you're here. That's what the universe wants you to do. So when we're in resistance, we create pain, disease, disharmony, right? We create that. When your body is riddled with all of that, it's because it's like I used to say the universe. So the angels were like throwing rocks at me, right? And trying to get you to just change your direction. And then the rocks got bigger into bricks and then boulders. And then, and then I'm laying underneath a mountain and I'm just like riddled with like fibromyalgia and depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
And why? Because I'm not on my path. Right? As soon as you step onto your path, it's like all that stuff gets lifted off of you and you'll feel it. And when you feel better, then you're gonna be so inspired to keep going on that road. And it's a lot of people right now are gonna be feeling that pressure of being under rocks that they don't want to be under.
That's what this year is going to bring, some change.
Yeah. Well, last year led into it for sure.
It really did. I mean, there's no going back.
Right.
That's for sure. There's things, finally, if you want to call it ripping the Band-Aid off, it was even worse than that. But it's finally, we can't go back. Prior to that, there's been those moments when people did bad things and they got a second chance.
Right.
And they got a third chance. And the media, as far as the news cycle,
right,
rolls right over them. And before you know it, you forgot all about what this was going on. Now it's finally stuck and there's no way to do it. And things are going to have to change because you've got again, I go back to the same thing. I'm thinking of Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein. You've got the Harveys in the world that made the machine run the way he wanted it to run.
Right.
But everybody played the game because they wanted that
as a fear,
that goal. And they did. They knew I'm not going to get there unless I do this.
Right.
In their mind.
Right.
I have to play his game or I will be blackballed. And I can't play. And it's like, is it worth it? That's what they asked a lot of them. Is it worth it to do what he asks you to do? Is that goal worth it?
So that's so all of us carry these archetypes, and honestly, the numbers or vibrations are all just archetypes for different things, right? So like the faith seeker, or like for him, the leader with the executive, or me, the lighthouse, the communicator, the counselor. Like we all have like these archetypes to us. We all share 4 common archetypes: the victim, the prostitute, the saboteur, and the child. And you'll see it when you're talking to somebody, you'll go, God, they're acting like a child, or, oh, what a princess. Like every time you do that, you're really accessing someone's archetype when you see that in them, right?
It's crazy. Yeah.
So when I think of these people who are choosing these things out of fear, like, oh, if I don't do this, then they won't help me do that. And that's, you're trading, you're prostituting yourself for something else you want, right?
Yeah. If the price, there's a price.
Right.
And they found your number.
And And so
some people don't have a number. Some people won't play that game.
Everybody at some point sits in that.
If you're at a
even if it's in school when you're a little kid and you're like, I'm gonna do something nice to that girl I don't really like just so she'll share her candy with me.
Right?
Hello. Yeah. I mean, it's all there. Like one's free of it. And the saboteur, we all have the saboteur, right? We all get in our own way. We all sabotage stuff.
Yes.
The victim. Oh Lord,
which leads to being the victim.
That's like the queen. That's like the queen of fear, right there, being the victim. When people are, and you can pick up on that when people talk really easily. They'll just be like, the world's against me. Nothing. Everyone's doing it to me. There's no accountability, no responsibility, no ownership. And so you can always pick up on where someone is, whether they're coming from fear or love. Like that's a huge, then you can use that discernment yourself, right? So discernment is different than judgment. They look the same in the dictionary, but they're not. Discernment comes from a place of self-love, and judgment comes from fear. So if you can check yourself, where am I coming from?
Yeah.
Recognize where other people are coming from, and then make your decisions from that place of an inner knowing, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is awesome. That's very
gosh.
interesting.
So when you have a session with somebody, do you start off with their birth date, or do you start off if they've got a problem? Or
I will create their chart. So I will take their name, their birthday, and their birth certificate name.
Okay.
And then I'll calculate all of those out, and then they all have like a value or a placement and how they show up in your story.
Interesting.
And then when they come in, usually I have
the birth name. Okay, let me ask you about that. Does the birth name, because I've always felt this way, how you name somebody, what you name a baby is going to matter.
It does matter vibrationally for sure.
Right? Because you give them the wrong name, and then the wrong perception sometimes.
There's no wrong.
Okay.
Right?
Perceived wrong.
Yeah. So maybe something that's not your favorite, right? You don't prefer it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking what I was thinking is the stage names that show up, like young girls get named Lola.
Yeah.
And there is a picture in people's minds of who that is,
stereotype,
or who
a stereotype of like an attachment to that name,
right? Provocative,
Yep.
that kind of thing. And then you know how kids are. Kids always tease,
right?
And if they can rhyme your name with something that's dirty, they're going to do it,
right?
Immediately,
Right.
Bambo, banana. Right. There we go. That's awesome. And now that's your nickname, and that's got to change the way you see the world and change the choices you make to a degree.
So the value the energy that it's your destiny energy comes from your full birth certificate name. So even though it's not in the front, because no one goes by it, right? So no one's calling that energy out in you unless your mom does.
Right.
Right? When you're in trouble, she calls out the whole name, and then your back kind of gets all
oh, no.
Yeah. Right. So she's actually calling that hidden energy that she gave you, right? So when you look at someone's life path, which is their reason for being here, which comes from their birthday, and you have the destiny energy that kind of runs in the background, they both have to be honored. And sometimes, like if they're challenge energies for each other, A person will have a hard time making a decision about what they want to do in life. They might feel confused all the time. So a reading would actually help someone see that and go, okay, now I can tell you which one you're supposed to honor first so that you can move forward, right?
That is interesting.
But helping someone honor all the energies in their chart is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Is to create peace and harmony within you and self-acceptance. So when someone comes and I go, yeah, so like some of your challenges might be procrastination or, an all or none kind of mentality. And, we can work with that. Once you know what your challenges are and you see that pattern throughout your whole life and go, oh my God, that's always been like that.
Right. It's pretty easy once you kind of get a little glimpse into it.
Right.
So is it easier? Can you work on all of them at the same time?
Yeah,
or is it like
it's 100% the whole, you're working on it all.
So procrastination, all that at the same time, not just procrastination for a month.
Because the biggest goal is self-acceptance. Because there isn't anything wrong with anyone. We're all, like when you get a reading, you're going to go, oh, that's exactly who I am. And you're going to go, yeah. And how can I know that if all I knew was your birthday and your name? I don't know you.
Yeah.
So if I've been accurate about who you are, then you're exactly who you came here to be. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're exactly, you're
and if you're not, you
at
just
this point,
got
you
off
just
path.
Yeah, and at this well, even then you can't mess it up. You cannot fail. Even if you lived your entire life through fear, you are still exactly who you came here to be, and you just chose. That's the free will part. You chose how you experienced that.
I think this would be something huge to have a kid experience, a younger person at the beginning, ish, to know kind of what to look out for, what their strengths are, their weaknesses are at a young age.
Yeah.
It's like they talk about having a baseline.
Yeah.
Like the doctors talk about, having that baseline when you're first going out in the world at 20, 21 years old, so that when you come back at 45 and they take the same numbers again and say, okay, you were here and now you're here.
Right.
So you can see how you've changed, your body's changed, but spiritually and as a person, to see this is the path that you pick. That you have.
But here's the thing, like,
and the potential that you have.
The most positive aspect of that is that's already how they feel. And so it's like, oh, that is my dream and I do want to do that.
It's validation.
And it's validating. Yeah. And it really helps you when you can accept who you are and stop comparing yourself to other people because they're not on your journey.
Confidence.
So much.
My goodness. Yeah.
So much.
That would make such a big difference. You're right.
That's crazy. I just screenshotted a picture this morning. It had something to do with comparison. It was great. Oh, maybe I deleted it. What? Oh no, it was actually Jason Messerschmidt tweeted this out. Comparison. It's a Teddy Roosevelt quote. That comparison is the thief of joy.
Absolutely.
And that's just weird that you brought that up because I screenshotted that. I'm like, I'd never heard that specific little quote before. Yeah. And it's true. So true.
Because think about that. What's comparison? It's judgment.
It's judgment. In your mind.
Which is fear.
Yep.
Right? So everything comes back to those three things. Everything comes back to those three things. So yeah, I do prom parties. I do the proms.
Oh, that's great.
And so I've done a prom. I have another one coming up where I do a booth and all I do is read kids.
That's fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Well, speaking of which, do you have events coming up that are open to the public?
I have lots of events. So I own the Soulwork Center in La Vista, and it's a holistic spiritual wellness center, really. And so I've got some people who rent space from me who are in the same field. My office is there. I offer all kinds of different things. But you can check out my website's still being built because that's one of the things I don't like to do. So
at least you know it.
That's right. Mm-hmm. But you can hit up the website, which is soulworkcenter.com, and you can sign up for my newsletter. And I have, on average, I have an event in my center almost every single day.
That's great.
Yeah, it stays really busy. There's lots of opportunities. If somebody out there has gifts that they want to share or wants to put on a class or start a group for people to meet, like that's what the space is for. I rent a 900 square foot classroom.
Nice.
We have tons of chairs and tables and projectors, things that people can use for a small fee. And I can be scheduled with at any time.
That'd be great.
People can just reach out to me. Yeah.
And what's your website again?
Soulwork Center.
Soulworkcenter.com. Okay.
.com. Yep.
Awesome. We'll post all that stuff with this episode. But
yeah. And Facebook, I'm all over Facebook. I manage like 9 pages.
Do you really?
Yeah. I'm a social media freakazoid.
See, isn't that great? What would you have done if there had been no social media? You think back.
Honestly, how do you market? If you don't use social media, how do you even market anymore? You have to.
And that's part of it, not to get back into it all again, but that's part of the change that has happened from what was the social construct. This is how you do it. This is how you live your life. And this is how you do what you do. Now we have other opportunities thrown in, and it's changing the way people do business. It's literally do their lives. It's changing the way you do everything.
And if you're in resistance to that, you're only hurting yourself.
That's right.
Right?
This is true.
You're hurting yourself.
Interesting and fascinating.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely loved it.
We got to have you back again.
I'd love it.
Okay.
Dana.
Awesome. Dana. I was going to say Dana.
You're training the whole world. You're training them.
Dana.
Rosanna, Dana.
Yeah, I got big hair and I'm loud.
Thanks, Dana. Appreciate it. It's Pat and JT, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. 402-403-9478. Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Pat and JT Podcast. A Parkville Media Production.